Hey everybody, welcome back to the Salt the Streets podcast, the show where we discuss news, government, and culture and how it pertains to you, the individual. I forget where my camera's at. And of course, your rights too. What are our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? I am that big bird looking fellow they call Colin. I am once again joined by my co-host, the Neo of Neoprene, the original Salt the Street himself, Donovan. How are you, good sir?
I'm excellent today. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Even though the president hates us, you're still good.
I knew that before Thursday.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Well, my good sir, can you tell us where we're at, the timeline, and tell the good people what they have coming to them today?
Yes, sir. Today is September 3rd, 2022, episode 132. We're out here, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, 132.
132,
we're out
baby.
Here. Yeah, and it is 12:10 p.m.
That's right, 12:10 p.m. because we have a cool
On
little
the dot.
timer now. That's how
right.
that works.
That's
so
right.
we should be able to hit that every time from now on. Oh, you brought some stanky with you.
I did.
I love it.
Smell that?
I haven't smelled stanky in a long time.
Yeah.
Ooh. You know, I haven't smoked weed in over a month now.
Well, you're on a little puffer.
And probably not right now, to be perfectly honest. I don't exactly trust myself right now. No, I need to be coherent right now. And after not smoking weed for over a month, I'd just be sitting here like, man, Biden's bad, bro.
It's not
But
good, man.
what are we talking about today, Donovan? What does the show look like?
Yeah, so today in part one, we obviously have our local stories. We're going to be talking about a Cheers scandal that's been going on for a little bit of a time now here in the local school district, Central Kitsap School District. We have some talk about some Jenny Durkin.
Jenny
She
Durkin
used to be the mayor of Seattle. Some deleted text messages. She's being sued now, or someone asked the attorney general to go after her to investigate her for these text messages. We have a gas car ban announced in Washington State, right along Florida, and they did this. They talked about this a few months ago as well, but I guess they're doubling down on it now. I'm not sure maybe they moved back the timeline. And then we're going to talk about a story that we heard about this week about a neighborhood in Seattle wanting to remove a strip of I-99 from their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I was looking up articles for this earlier this week, and I saw a picture of the neighborhood, and the highway does in fact run right through the middle of the neighborhood. And at one point there is a bridge that goes over
there's a pedestrian bridge
from one part of the neighborhood to the other part of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I thought that was so fucking funny.
I've got the Google map all queued up so that we
Yeah.
can look at that when we talk about it, because we'll talk about it later, but there are two ways to go from the residential side, or in the residential section of that neighborhood. There's two ways to get over across I-99. One is just a regular street, and one is a pedestrian bridge.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it, because I have more thoughts now that I've done some more looking into this.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we're going to talk about that in part two. We have what we call the schools back in session, kind of, right?
That's
some
right.
Different school topics because school is starting now. It started here this week, I think, and it starts around the country, in the next few weeks, in the coming weeks. So we're going to be talking about some issues or a new collective bargaining agreement in the Minneapolis school district. The DC school district delayed their vaccine mandate that they had in for their schools there, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk again about the student debts cancellation because you did a good job. You talked about that last time. Covered mostly kind of the inflation aspects of it, so we're going to talk about kind of some of the other scenarios or the other aspects of that.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about
last
episode,
last beer show or something, right?
Yes. So it was last week.
That's
It
right.
was last Friday. Yeah, so that's how you covered mostly the inflation aspect. Totally fine. It was absolutely incredible. It was great coverage of it. All totally true. And we're just going to cover some more of the other aspects of it. We're going to talk about a club in Berkeley, California, where the college there is that isn't allowing white people in some of the spaces. Talking about that. And
Racist.
And there's some new or a study that came out this week, I believe, about kind of going over the learning loss that we saw during COVID. When the article that I read from NPR is, we're not calling it learning loss, we're calling it, it was like missed learning or something, because we can't lose it if you never had it. You never got the opportunity. So, Joseph, thank you very much for joining us. Where's Bilbo?
I'm
Bilbo? Thinking the same thing. It is Labor Day weekend. He may be doing something fun with his family.
He's hanging out in a tent somewhere.
We will see, but we will see if Bilbo's swagging is here. Zeke is here. In the meantime, thank you both boys for joining us. We're going over just what we're talking about this week. And then part 3, we had government involvement, right? Governmental involvement. We're talking about the Trump date, which is Trump update for the Mar-a-Lago, all things like that. We're going to talk about some ATF, NFA item seizures that have been going on. I have a video that we can watch from Mr. Guns and Gear, which is just let's stop you for a second. I hate this aspect of YouTube culture where everyone has fucked up names like that because it sounds like a not legitimate person to be getting information from. His YouTube channel is Mr. Guns and Gear, but he covers a lot of this type of law enforcement shit that's like, you should be watching this, keep your eye on this type of stuff. But it just doesn't sound, if you're talking to someone who doesn't know you or you're trying to convince and you're like, well, watch this video from Mr. Guns and Gear channel, and it just isn't a good... It's very difficult to convince people, and that's where your information is coming from, regardless of how good the information is. Yeah. So
one of the problems with the creator economy on the platforms that we have.
We're going to talk about some Hunter Biden information out of the FBI, and then I have a story here. We have a story about an active duty soldier who was 3D printing a bunch of shit, and we like to see that type of stuff. So we're going to talk
I like
about
the way you put it, the active duty active printer.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about that, and then Mark Zuckerberg and Alex Berenson, who's a reporter, were both on Joe Rogan's last week. They were both on the Joe Rogan Experience last week, so we're going to talk about some implications that they talked about, some things they went over, and why they were on. And then part 4 with the grab bag, obviously, and Colin went over all of this last night in the live stream. We're talking about some Breonna Taylor stuff. Zeke, stick around for that because I know we talked to you a lot about that in the meantime, and I meant to hit him about this in the meantime, like on the side. I completely forgot about it. Subway tattoo promotion because you said I'm still fired up about this. Some Ukraine updates as far as the Iranian drones being sent there, and then a new COVID vaccine that is being sent to market has already been recommended by the FDA panel, even though there has not been any human trials. So let's see here. Zeke, not much. Just a glorious weekend to work around the house. There you go. We're out here. Okay. So I have 2. Let me ask you this. One not serious, one serious. The first one, do you know how the internet works on like an infrastructure level?
On an infrastructure level, I mean, the very, very basics of it,
So this is a really finite detail of this. I was talking to Cody after the draft last weekend, and Cody has all of these special certifications in like fiber optic work and all this type of stuff. Cody told me that the cable, the actual fiber optic cable that runs the fiber optic, is the width of a human hair.
Word.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you can transmit a lot of data through, because it's done through like light or something like that.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's some weird
wrapped up
weird stuff
with a bunch of other cables, but the
Yeah.
one that actually does the internet is just a human hair
Yeah.
in the middle. What the fuck is that?
Hashtag technology, bro.
Get out of here.
That's where we're going.
Get out of here.
I remember when if you wanted cable, man, you had to get that big that big
Yes.
thick thing, and you'd screw it in the back of your TV
Yes.
and all that, and then
The
everything was
coaxial.
still the coaxial cable,
Exactly.
and it's still shitty.
Yeah.
We still use that. I mean,
Yes.
out here it's plugged into my fucking modem
And
right
if
now.
the little prong in the middle gets fucked up, it's impossible to
Yeah.
get into the TV at that point.
Yep, which is not fun.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the proper, let me ask you this. Right?
Do you know how the internet works?
Yes. No. So, and this is an opinion question, like much of these things are. If you're new here, let me ask you this. Is a question that I come up with on the side that I pose to Colin, and he has no preparation for it. It's completely off the cuff. So that's how we do this starting segment here. Let me ask you, do you think that the Founding Fathers expected 250 years from 1776 that we would still be the United States? Or do you think we would have been chunked up by then? And if you do think so, do you think they expected we would still be using the same documents that they crafted at that time? Or do you think that they would have expected that we would have come up with our own shit? Doesn't like us.
Yeah, that was weird. Something's going on there. The cable's on the camera. Hopefully that holds out. I had some issues with that when Josh Keaton was here, but it kind of resolved itself. So hopefully that'll do the same. So do I think the founding
fathers expected that we would still be the United States 250 years from the time they crafted the documents?
I think they definitely expected that what they conceived of as the United States would still exist. I'd have a hard time believing they would have, in their wildest dreams, expected it to exist in the state it exists now.
Yeah.
With because how can you conceptualize as 13 colonies what 300+ million people looks like? that's a tough thing. I mean, it's hard for us to these days to conceptualize, say, 80,000 people, unless you equate it to like, oh yeah, a football stadium or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to conceptualize that. So I would say they probably didn't really truly understand what it might look like. But then again, the foundational aspects of this government that they set up, they would not recognize it today from anything that we have, our current system, the way it looks. They wouldn't recognize it at all because it's completely contrary to everything they built.
Yes.
But I don't think they'd be surprised that we would be relying on the same foundational documents. I think it would be looking at the scale of everything. They'd be like, well, where's all the rest of the documents? Like, what else have you guys got to like make sure that you can operate this thing at the scale you do? That wouldn't seem out of the realm for me. But no, I think right now, I mean, we hear it all the time. The founding fathers would be rolling in their graves that they could see what we've done with this thing that they set up.
Even
I think that's a pretty strong. I think there's a lot of evidence to say that they'd come out of their graves and they'd die again because they'd have another heart attack and it'd be game over. Like, what the fuck did you guys do with this thing?
If they showed up here and said like, so what do you got? Like, what have you done since then?
Yeah.
And all we have to show them is like volumes of law and federal regulation.
Yeah.
They'd be like, this is not it.
This is not it, man.
Not what we were talking
No.
about. This is not what we meant.
Like,
when
we gave you one piece of paper and you guys have literally just cut away at it.
Yeah.
Like that
That's not
doesn't
good.
seem like.
Yeah.
I mean, you added. I see you guys added some things. That's good. I like that. I like what you added. I don't like some of the stuff you added. What do you mean we can't drink anymore?
Like
That's
it says
weird.
at the top that you can't do anything about this.
Exactly.
It says that at the top. It's part of the
Yeah.
paper.
So who does this? Oh, the government itself does this.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's not right, guys. That's not the way this whole thing's supposed to work.
That's actually exactly what we were talking about. is
Yeah.
Don't do
do
that.
that.
Yeah, don't let that happen.
Yeah. But again, I mean, we've talked about it before. I mean, you did a really good job talking about this in your review preview this last week.
Thank you.
The idea that, what's the point I was trying to make? The concept that like liberty at scale could still exist, or with the current system we have now, like you'd have to go back to an earlier system that was much more simplified because it was so much easier to have a representative democracy like that, like a true representative democratic republic when there was only a handful of people.
Right.
Because the actual concerns of the everyday citizens could more or less in some capacity be brought up forward to the upper levels of the government if that was to be needed. Whereas today, you're a really small fish in a really, really large ocean. And so the entire concept has been so bastardized that they wouldn't even recognize it as semi-coherent to what it is that they built, to be honest. And especially looking at every aspect of our entire governmental system right now is it's such a bastardized version of what it was they set out to build. So yeah, no, they ain't into it.
Yeah. No, I like it. And that, the last thing that I want to say before we move on to our proper topics is just, you talked about the review preview already, so we also have the other things. So Joseph Garrett said, we have the best constitution ever drafted, in my opinion, and a legitimate way of amending it. We just need to hold our leaders accountable for their complete failure to follow it. I'm here for it. I like it.
Yeah, I like the concept.
Yep.
Fucking Matt Kibbe, dude. Matt Kibbe, towards the end of that book, really got on to that point.
Yeah.
You say this, we had the foundation's good, the skeleton was good, but by the time you add everything else on top to what we have, it's almost, the idea now, just going off of what Garrett was talking about, the idea now that if we just elect the right people, I don't know if that would do the trick.
Yeah.
I think the institution itself, the body, the thing of the government itself is it has such a strong immune system towards any external input now. I don't know if that would do the case anymore. We could elect, today's going thing is get the MAGA Republicans in there, get those America First candidates in the primaries and do all this. They're not, you could do that on a massive scale around the entire country. I still don't think that would do the trick, because the
Right.
institution itself, the machine itself, is so incredibly impervious to externalities. It supports itself over and over again, and all it does is continue to get stronger.
And we talked
Time will tell, but I don't think that would do the trick.
We talked last week when we were doing the review preview. We talked in the review preview, so everybody go watch that. Even if you didn't read the Matt Kibbe book, definitely go check out the review preview, because it goes over a lot of that type of stuff and talks about what we're talking about right now. You're talking about stripping the federal government down to the bare bones, then which people you can have liberty at scale, like you were talking about. You need an executive that's going to step in and start stripping away the excess pieces of the government that have been added on. The cancer that Ivan is talking about right here. Cancer
Shout
is
out
what
Ivan.
it says cancer is what you're talking about as soon as you add on everything else. That was not intended. So all of these three-letter agencies, all these alphabet agencies, all this bullshit that exists within the executive, all this stuff is additional things that have been added on that aren't part of the original intention of the executive branch.
Yeah.
So it requires... The idea that we could just trust leaders requires that we would get somebody in office who would actually strip those things away. And that, in and of itself, I don't have faith in that someone will go in and just start immediately just tearing away agencies. That fuck the ATF. We don't need this anymore. This doesn't need to be here. States are going to handle this themselves. We don't need the fucking IRS anymore. Until we have it. Not until, because the point that I'm making is that's not feasible to me, right? And even if we did have somebody that was doing that, you're saying the immune system of that system itself is so strong that there would be endless legal battles that went on for much longer than 4 years or 8 years, however long that person is going to exist in that office, that are going to outlast him. And the moment that someone comes in, they're going to win on the opposite argument of, I'm going to bring all these things back because this guy's a fucking extremist. He wants to strip everything down away, everything that we've been built up that's keeping the fabric of the country where it is. We need these things. The ATF keeps us safe. The FBI keeps us safe. The IRS helps keep the government flowing, you know? That's exactly how the opposite of him is going to win.
Yeah.
And those things are going to go right back into place.
Yeah. The white blood cells of the government body are the nameless, faceless individuals in gray suits. That's who would do it, because at the end, and Congress, you'd have to have a Congress that would be on board with that too, because they're the holders of the purse strings and stuff like that. So they'd also have to sign off on the government allowing hundreds of thousands of its own employees be just gone.
Yeah.
And then there's pension systems tied to it. It is so it's so intertwined. It would be really, really hard.
And we had someone comment on one of our clips this week that was like, excuse me, I thought this was going to be a pro-democracy channel, right? And I think that's funny for a lot of reasons, but I think the real reason I think that's so funny is because it's easy, and we addressed the review preview too, it's easy to misconstrue this as like, all of this is a waste, there's no point in this stuff, which is not, I think, how either of us feel. It's definitely not how I feel. I agree with Joseph that the Constitution that we have is the best one that's ever been drafted.
Word.
The country that we have here is the greatest country that has ever existed. 100%, right? I don't have any doubt in that at all. I don't have any doubt in the idea that people can collectively come together as individuals, choose to come together to do something together that will benefit the vast majority of them, if not all of them, the people who it doesn't benefit can go and do their own thing. Yeah. I believe in that system. I don't believe that system is possible out of what we have right now.
Yeah.
And that's the point that we're driving home all the time, that I think makes it easy to sound nihilistic of, oh, just fuck everything else and fucking anarchy is the only way to go. From here to freedom, anarchy is the only way to go.
Word.
Because minarchism out of this system is difficult, if not impossible, to truly conceive of. You know, you can theorize it. The idea exists, the possibility exists, but I don't.
And so does communism, right?
I don't think that it's feasible.
Yeah.
So
the idea that like this show is anti-democratic is probably relatively true.
In the corest sense.
Yes, but to understand that we're very pro-America. We're pro an America. You know, that's generally where we land, even through the avenues of anarchy or even libertarianism or whatever it is. We're still pro-America, but we're anti-U.S. government. That's
Yes.
really what it comes down to.
Yes.
I can be pro-America but anti-government because I believe to be American is to be anti-government.
That's a T-shirt right there.
Boom.
Pro-America, anti-government.
That's right.
And that is what this episode is called. Pro-America,
Anti-government. Yeah.
Government.
Write it down, baby.
There it is. I forget a lot. Yes.
We are a constitutional republic.
Yes.
On paper.
That is
That's right.
On paper. Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about that. We are one of the things I don't have here in the breakdown. We are going to talk about Joseph Biden's speech on Thursday, and that's going to go along with kind of the Trump date and stuff like that. So this discussion of constitutional Republican democracy will go in that because we were discussing this just right before the show of all this language of refusing the powers that be, the administration currently refusing, and Democrats at large refusing to acknowledge even that we are not a democracy at its heart, that we are meant to be a democratic republic. I believe it's very calculated and very intentional to even just in a mental fashion shift the mentality of the country in that direction, you know. So we're gonna we will get into that. That will be an aspect of what we're talking about. Before we get into everything else, I do want to thank you guys again for being here. Obviously, you're watching us on our YouTube at Salt of the Streets. We also have our Instagram, our Facebook, our Patreon, everything at Salt of the Streets. Go to the Patreon, sign up there. Help us make more, better content just like this. We just put out our Salty newsletter on the last day of the month. So it was the 10th edition of the Salty newsletter. If you go there and you sign up $5 tier, then you get access to all the Salty newsletters that we have done so far. And saltedstreets.com for all this information. Of course, we also have the book club, the beer shows that Colin has been doing on Fridays, the beer show live streams, the newsletter, like I said, and the review preview that come out on the first day of the month that coincide with the book club. With that,
let me address one thing before we move on.
Yes.
And just to add some context, Joseph, yes, supposed to be, we are indeed a constitutional republic. My argument would be, and perhaps I will pontificate on this later, or maybe I'll do something like that in the live stream this Friday.
See what we
got. I would argue that once you reach a certain scale, the ability for a constitutional republic essentially fails to operate in a fashion that actually is a representation of the populace that it's supposed to be doing.
That's an interesting thought experiment.
Indeed.
I like that.
So let's talk about rapists. I mean,
yeah. So this first topic, number one, is the local stories that we have here. This is also for everyone watching because I know that we have some college football people here. This is College Football Saturday, first College Football Saturday. Week 1, week 0 was last week, but first College Football Saturday is going to be football every week, every weekend until February, baby. I know
Hot
Colin
dog.
is jazzed. We're fucking out here.
I am here for it.
I was thinking about sports on the way out here. I'm like, sports doesn't really fit in the show anymore. I'm going to figure something out for sports because I think that we deserve it.
Especially now that football's here.
So,
you can't.
Gotta
this is your time to shine.
Exactly. So, Central Kitsap School District. This is the local school district that we have here, and this has kind of been an ongoing saga for a little while. The article that you have there is from a few months ago. It's from February, and this is when he was sentenced, right? Under a sentencing alternative for those no prior sex offensive convictions. So he's going to serve 6 months in jail. And this is a guy that he was pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree sexual misconduct with a minor. He was having kids over at his house and giving them alcohol and stuff like that, and then taking advantage of them. And
that's not good.
Yes. So that was a story. We may have even talked about it at the time. I don't remember. The reason that we're bringing it up again now is because the parents of one of these children, and I'll send you this article in Signal right now. It's a Yahoo News article, actually. So let's see here. Salty boys.
Salty bees.
Boom. Okay, so this is a Yahoo News article, and it is entitled Central Kitsap School District Sued by Former Student Over Rape. And this is from August 16th. And it says, one of the 3 former Kitsap County High School students raped in 2019 by a cheer coach has come forward to share his story and is suing the Central Kitsap School District for $5 million. The plaintiff is Isaac G. Yates, and the cheer coach is Tyson Alexander Ebert, who has already pleaded guilty. Shouldn't he pled guilty? Does it matter? Does it matter? I don't know. Pleaded guilty, like what's proper English? Pled guilty and pleaded guilty.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he pleaded
guilty
it's English,
to having
bro.
sex.
It might go both ways.
Yeah, pleaded guilty to having sex with students at Olympic High School before 2019. The lawsuit claims the coach was sexually manipulative, and the school did nothing to intervene or having a coach arrested until the young man came forward and revealed what occurred.
So they're insinuating the school knew about it?
Right. That's what I'm like, not trying to defend it, but how the fuck are you going to do anything about it if you don't know about it?
Yeah.
Right? So it just makes my stomach turn. Not to get flashbacks. I have PTSD because of it. It was terrifying, and even now it still is. Predators having parties at his home. These students were spending the night there. Some students even wrote letters to the principal expressing their concern that this coach made them uncomfortable, and they were uncomfortable about how he was treating these special students. The lawsuit said the school district was negligent and is not recognizing the coach's behavior, and the attorneys behind the lawsuit said they believe there are other rape victims who have not come forward. The lawsuit also claims the coach had been grooming and supplying alcohol to students, and there was common knowledge throughout the school. That I don't doubt. Eber was released after spending 6 months in jail because he had no previous convictions. He's also on probation as a sex offender. So I don't doubt that other people knew about it, because if it was happening, he's definitely telling people about it. And yeah, it's not good. 6 months is not a good look.
No,
right?
man.
It's not a good look at all. So
that's rough.
yes. The reason that we bring this up, not only is it dark, right? No one likes to see this. It's a horrific thing. But there's all this push. Send your kids to public school. Send your kids to public school. Why the fuck would I send my kid to public school if you can't even keep them from getting fucked? You can't even stop other people from fucking them. Employees, people under your employ, you can't stop them from fucking my kid.
For what appears to be relatively common knowledge.
So
At least that's some kind of untour behavior
what are we
that was
talking
going
about?
on here.
So what are we talking about?
Why?
I don't what.
Dude, the arguments against. So like we're pulling out the yellow legal pad. We're doing a pros and cons chart, right? The cons at this point are so heavily outweighing the pros.
Stacking
at
up.
this point. I get that it's a really difficult thing to do, obviously. But man, this seems so hard for me. Like, how could anybody? I would be really terrified to be sending my kids to public school.
Yeah.
I would be wanting to do so much research into the individual school itself, the individual teachers that are going to be going there, the curriculum. I'm like, I want to go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. I want to know everything that's going on there, because there's so much sus activity going on.
Yeah.
At all these different schools, man. Mind you, it is the information age, so like we're hearing about so many stories now that we would have never heard about before, and it might make the appearance of the general situation larger than it truly is. But in these types of cases, one is too many.
Yeah.
One is way too many, and this is not okay with me.
It's also not an uncommon theme. This should be happening all the time. It's not like
dude.
it's every week, but there are multiple stories per year in which this is happening in a public school. And it's not like it's only high school kids, from elementary all the way up to fucking high school kids. So
yeah, and that's not even to bring into like college.
It's not a good look. Oof. No. Schools, we aren't grooming kids. And it's weird, right? Isn't it fucking so weird? Isn't it so weird?
That's right.
So then this kid was 25. He went to school with us. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he went to school with Zeke and I. So it's not good.
No.
It's not a good look.
I like to think, because I am older than you guys, my generation definitely is not involved here. We are not culpable. It's all your guys' fault.
I didn't do this shit. So let's see these comments here. And Joseph also said, difficult, not impossible. I love this. I almost want to scrap local stories but no. Difficult, not impossible to scale. Population can be represented in the House. We need elections we can trust, and serious consequences for willful violation of our Constitution. I agree with those two last points, right?
I do.
The thing that I struggle with, if you're talking about, we're just going to hit these points throughout the show. We're doing it, Joseph. So the thing that I struggle with, if we're talking about scaling up for the amount of people, we have 330 million people in this country. How much do we scale up? Because it's something like 50,000 people per representative now, right?
Yeah,
it's something to that effect, between 40 or 50,000. That's when, if you have that many more people in your state, you get a new representative. It's something to that effect, right? And we can look it up the exact number. It doesn't totally matter.
Yeah.
But there's 435 people in the House already. They can't fucking get anything done. At what point is 500 or 550 people going to get that job done
Build a bigger
more
house.
effectively? And that's what I don't understand, right? The number thing doesn't seem to matter. The issue I see with the House itself, not the issue, one of the issues is that's where the two-party system comes involved, right? This issue of a larger house works in parliamentary style systems where there are 7, 8, 9, 10 different parties that are there, and you have to work with other people to get a majority to run a government. When there's only two parties and all you need is 7 more dudes, that's not much work, especially if it's the House and you can do it in tiny districts where no one fucking knows about it, right? That is the only way, in my view, that those parliamentary style House systems work, is because there's a more diversity in the systems themselves. Even if there's 4 leftist parties and 5 right-wing parties, there's diversity among those parties. They don't agree on enough things that they have created their own party there that is represented and is recognized nationally in that country. So
2 things. The parliamentary system is generally frowned upon because of the fact that there are too many fractured groups like that, and then a small minority party can essentially just have enough people to gain enough power, and then they still have to build a coalition government, but that still excludes enough people, enough groups of people, caucuses, if you will, that the general argument, not to say that I agree with it, but the general argument against it is that it pushes more people's representation aside, right? Because at the end of the day, only that one controlling party is really going to have the ruling party. You see this a lot in like Britain. A lot of the coalition, or even Israel, a lot of the coalition parties that join the one that actually wins the election generally don't get to bring much of their issues and things to the table. A lot of it gets poo-pooed because at the end of the day, you're kind of just there because you want some modicum of power, and so you sign on to this existing government. So that's generally the problem with that compared to the 2-party system. But the problem with the 2-party system is essentially when party takes over, and then because we have a lot of caucuses and stuff like that within the 2-party system that essentially do the same type of deal. They form coalitions and all this stuff to become like the Freedom Caucus is a part of the Republican Party and all that.
They're
real
loose.
And we have seen throughout
and they come and go all the time.
Yes, and we've seen throughout time that regardless of what caucus, how many caucuses there are, or how many people are all signed up, what really takes power in the 2-party system is whether you have that D or the R, whether you're a Democrat or Republican.
Right.
Because the party itself has the power. The caucuses themselves within that party, they have different levels of power based off of how large the caucuses are at various times. Like you said, they come and they go, they ebb and they flow. The progressives right now in the Democratic Party are not the largest caucus in the party, but they are the most powerful for whatever reason. The Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party, it's arguable to say that they have a lot of power within the Republican Party right now, but they definitely have more power than when they were the Tea Party.
Yeah.
And so that comes and goes, but at the end of the day, the problem with the parliamentarian process system is that there's too many, and that's the argument that they say.
No, I'm just thinking while you're
in the
talking.
2-party system, inevitably, it doesn't become about the actual, for lack of a better term, caucuses. It becomes about the party itself. And then
Lenny!
that doesn't do anything.
Sorry.
Lonesome
Fucking
Lenny's here.
That made me very happy. Sorry.
That's good. That was it.
No.
Perfect timing.
No. And I don't disagree with you, right? To me, this is where I start to have issues with...
A Southie boy.
I
forgot about that.
No, 100%. We start to arrive at like a stacking of issues, right? And the stacking of issues at that point is when we talk about the parliamentary style system, is you have people there who again they're going after power. They're not there because they fucking believe in anything. They're not good people. They're there because they fucking want power. So that's where you identify another issue within that. You know what I'm saying? That again, I don't disagree with you, and that's when it becomes to me very
difficult,
unrealistic, you know, because you're in the current system, the way that it is with all of the money and the coercion and the deception that it involves, that there's so few people, and we talked about again in the review preview, so few people that can make it through that system untainted to the end, that they could be someone that could do something respectable when they've achieved that position. And if we're talking about, like Joseph is talking about, we need better people that we can trust in there. And do you think you can really find 435 people, 550 people? Because we need a bigger house, right? That Joseph's argument to do. And I'm not coming down to you, Joseph, because we're thought experiments here. But if that's the argument, you really think that we can find 550 people that can make it through the current system the way that it's set up now and still have all of their morals and all of their scruples intact, so they can come together collectively at the end as individuals to get something done for the people? That's where I struggle. It's not like I don't think that there's 600 people in the country who have morals and scruples that aren't taintable, but I don't. They have to make it through this current election system. They have to make it through that current party system. Yeah. So there's so much involved in remaking that system. Take the party off the ballot. Know who you're voting for and not what you could.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what I'm talking about. Is that like that the diversity of opinion has to be represented, not the parties. There was only an example of a European parliamentary style system because that's how those things are. That there's still the two parties, but the different groups, caucuses, if like you said, in those parties. That's why those things don't work, because they're still ruled by the two-party system. There is an actual diversity of thought represented in that government. It's still the two different parties, the conservatives and the Tories, that are still going after it, even though there's parties underneath them. You have to have actual diversity of representation, diversity of opinion for that to work.
Yeah. And
I think.
And every one of those, regardless of how small, every one of those, we'll just keep it in caucuses at that point. Every caucus would need an equal platform to be able to voice their ideas to the whole body at that point. Everybody would need equal time, and they would be needed. Their ideas would be needed to be taken equally, with equal respect, and which we just don't have in our deliberative body. I do like the idea of the UK's version of Parliament, because I think Robin Williams made the joke at one point, like the British Parliament is like the US Congress, but with a 2-drink minimum, and all they do is sit there and yell at each other, which, if you've watched it before, you could watch them on YouTube and stuff like that. It's fucking hilarious, man. They cut on each other like real hard, just directly. They will just call each other names. I mean, it is a fascinating thing to watch. But I like the idea that Joe's saying. If you were to remove the party affiliation, at least from the ballot, if you remove the party affiliation from the ballot and they would secretly be a Democrat or a Republican, I could get behind that, because then the voters, I bet you if you did that, the amount of people that actually voted would drop dramatically, because people don't have the option of doing a D or an R down ballot. They would actually have to look at the people. And I don't know how many people would be willing to go, yeah, I'm going to vote for just so-and-so because I like their name. So-and-so because I like their name.
A lot more personal responsibility involved in that type of system.
There would be a ton, which I think would diminish the general voting base a great deal, because most people at that point would just not be willing to put up the time.
I don't think we should be...
Yeah, which I don't have a...
Fucking good.
I can't disagree with that at all, man. I like that. If we're going to try to find a way, because I think it's more important than ever at this point in time to be looking at possible solutions for not dissolving the entire governmental body, because with the governmental body goes our entire society. If we're going to be looking at some ways to be able to save it, that is a realistic way you could start. It's realistic, and it would cost no money to do that. It would cost zero money to do that. Everything else would stay the same. All the processes would stay the same. You just don't put as much ink on the paper.
Yeah.
Done. Who knows? And then if you're out there if these people are out there campaigning, if Tiffany Smiley's out there campaigning, she can say she's a Republican on the trail. But on the ballot itself, for those uninformed voters, the people that are low information, if you will, if they're not paying attention to anything, all they do is get their ballot in the mail or go into the box, and then they just, I'm a Democrat, so boom, boom, boom. I'm a Republican, so boom, boom, boom. You kind of mitigate some of that. All the people that are following these people, supporting their campaigns, hearing about it on the media or whatever it is, they're still going to know whether they're Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or Independent or whatever. But where it actually matters at the ballot box, that would solve a lot of issues. I think that's a very interesting concept. Shout out Joseph, coming in here with some heat, bro.
I love you guys.
I'm into it.
Sorry, I'm just paying the sticker man.
The sticker man.
Yeah, and we'll tell everyone this. We are ordering some stickers, sticker man. So I'm listening to you. I swear to God. I gotta fucking find them.
You're double alpha brain, bro. You're listening to 8 different things.
Yeah, and it's been a whole fucking deal. And I've been talking to this guy on Instagram, so I don't have his phone number. And Venmo's like, oh, you should give us the last 4 digits of his phone number first, so we know that you're fuck you. Just give the man the money and so he can give me my fucking stickers. So we're going to have some real nice vinyls, some nice vinyl stickers coming up.
These
We've got
ones, right?
some right there.
I'm gonna
exactly.
I'm gonna try to do this here real quick.
Yeah, no, 100%. They're
Show
just
the
like
people.
those ones. Colin is going to show you guys these vinyl stickers. We're ordering some up, so we're going to have a bunch here. If you guys want some, $5 hairs. Send me $5 hairs, I'll mail you one in an envelope. How about that?
$5 hairs.
That's it.
So,
Representatives
boom.
should run on.
That's what they
Those are the
look like.
stickers, those vinyls right there.
Nice
They're excellent.
vinyls.
Colin has one on his computer. I got one on my truck. Colin has one on his truck. I got one on like
That's right.
a water bottle. They stick good. They're on a lot of shit. I might have one on my laptop.
Yeah, man, I've taken those
No
things
laptop,
on
I ran
multiple
out.
hunting trips.
Yes.
And they've been scratched up 3 ways from Wednesday. Lots
So-
of weather.
Vinyls.
It's all been good.
Y'all
It's
want
all been
vinyls? We got fucking vinyls out here.
good. Vinyls where it's
Yeah,
at.
and we'll have
Vinyl
yeah.
and neoprene. Those
It
are the
is.
2 most key things in my life.
Shows us that representatives should run on specific ideas that they will vote a certain way. If they go against that, they ran on. There should be consequence at a minimum, a valid explanation for why they deviated. Which is why they have the 2-year cycles. That's why every 2 years they have to run again. Because
Yep.
if they aren't doing their fucking job, then you can tell them 2 years from now.
Peace out.
Yeah, bitch,
Ideally.
get after it. Yeah,
Ideally.
Exactly. I love this conversation already. You guys
Amen.
got us fucking going
You
out
guys
here.
are great.
Our next story, because that's pretty much it as far as
The Dirk.
Yes, Durkin, and the article I have here is actually from The Urbanist.
Ooh.
And it's let's see, this I have a 50-50 hit on Ground News, so it's been covered pretty fairly.
Nice.
Yeah, this one about it's the essence here. I can send you this Urbanist article.
Cool.
The Urbanist is is a leftist leaning paper, and that's why I picked them because I know they're going to come the fuck down on her.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I picked that one. So.
love
Because
it.
well, this all centers around a few months ago, there was some susness that happened. Well, actually, I guess it all happened during George Floyd, and just it was discussion in the last few months. And so Jenny Durkin was the mayor during,
The Chaz Chop.
was during Chaz Chop, during all that type of stuff. Lonesome Lenny's got a bug for a bit. That's fine. We'll be back here unless you meant that you were sick, in which case I hope that you are okay.
Yeah.
But if you're meaning you have to leave, that's fine. We will be here for a few more hours, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Come on back.
At
So
the very least.
Jenny Durkin was the mayor during the George Floyd riots, Chaz Chop, all of that stuff that happened here. We covered all those things extensively. You will hear some different opinions from us if you want to go back there, get a little dip into what we call the time capsule.
Whoa.
Would be nice. Yeah. So at the time, Jenny Durkin had a bunch of text messages. She had 3 phones cracking as mayor, and on one of
Yeah.
those phones, she had the delete cycle for every 30 days. So she lost like hundreds of text messages that supposedly have to do with her talking to the police about using tear gas and all these different tactics and stuff like that. So this is from the Urbanist. It was well known that Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin is running a secretive administration, but a whistleblower complaint last week, and this article is from May of 2021. A whistleblower complaint last week revealed a bombshell revelation that Durkin likely committed a felony while seeking to shield her personal text messages from the public eye in an apparent cover-up. Stacey Irwin, a public records officer in the mayor's office, filed the whistleblower complaint, and she told the Seattle Times that Durkin placed her on unpaid administration leave.
Woo! Coming down on the
Fucking
whistleblowers.
terrible. Should be unpaid administrative leave.
And
in an
yes,
apparent
Joseph, this is the
retaliation.
Summer of Love lady.
Yes, Summer of Love, 100%. Irwin's co-worker Kim Ferrero supported her whistleblower complaint and resigned partially out of fear of retaliation. Seattle Times reported that 10 months of the text messages from one of the mayor's work phones had been deleted in violation of public disclosure laws. By the way, right? The same type of shit that they're fucking coming down on Trump for
That's
right now.
what I love.
The same fucking type of
love
shit.
it. Documents, bro. Documents.
Yep. The period covered the first 4 weeks of the protests following George Floyd's murder, when Mayor Durkin oversaw the repeated tear gas in Capitol Hill, brutal police tactics against protesters, and the abandonment of the East Precinct building. All those things did happen. That's 100% true. There was also fucking riots in downtown. The fucking Chaz Chop got set up. People were raped. People were fucking murdered out there. People weren't able to leave their homes without knowing that bad shit was going to happen to them if they lived around Cal Anderson Park. It was fucking horrific, right?
That's where the East
Shudarugi-
Precinct was
Yeah.
in the Chaz Chop area. That's
Yes.
why it was abandoned.
That's why it was abandoned. They were attacking, and they said, "We're getting the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
Durkin's texts were not retained from late August 2019 to June 25th. Ooh, damn. That's
That's a
goddamn.
long time.
And that's right in the fucking heat of it, too. That's
Yeah.
right in the shit. Because, I mean,
August 2019 to June
and
2020.
it was like April, May, June, that shit was cracking, like really cracking off. A whistleblower investigation report revealed last week Lewis Cam and Daniel Beekman. We know Dan Beekman. Well, we know his name. Dan Big, we fucking got beers with him last week. In email Tuesday, responding to several days of questions about how that happened, the mayor's office said a forensic analysis has determined that Durkin's text retention was set to 30 days on one of the 3 phones issued to her at some point between late August 2019 and July 24, 2020. Why does she have 3 phones?
Yo,
Why do you have 3 phones?
That's
one iPhone with 120 gigs of memory isn't going to be enough.
no.
That won't be enough for one cycle as mayor.
I could see like, okay, so if I am the mayor, right, I have a personal phone. I
Yeah,
have my phone,
100%,
right?
of
But I
course.
might do stuff with it, so hence that could be used for public record keeping or whatever. And then I have a government phone that I got.
Yeah.
For my mayoral job.
Right.
I don't know why you need a third phone.
This one also says on one of 3 phones issued to her.
That's
Why do you have
why
3
you got
phones?
3 phones. Why you got 3 gov phones?
Why are
man?
they giving you 3 phones? That's what I'm saying. Of course, 2 is totally reasonable. That absolutely makes sense. 2
Yeah, she
phones.
pulled a Hillary, bro. Thanks, Joseph.
I like it. So, why do you have 3 phones? Why do you need 3 phones?
Mm-hmm.
What do you run for mayor every fucking 4 years or some shit like that? Why do you need 3 phones? One iPhone with 120 gigs is not going to be enough for one fucking cycle as mayor. Maybe 2 phones.
I'm just
Maybe
trying
2.
to find, maybe you got your super secret squirrel phone, and then you have a non-classified phone, because there are those. I mean, I've worked for the federal government before. You have classified phone, you have unclassified phone. Okay, you could do that because you're working with sensitive stuff as mayor, and then you have the more public stuff. But why you got 3 phones? I don't understand the 3
weird.
phones. 3
weird.
3 phones does sound sus AF.
Yes. Paying someone new, make your next purchase. Fuck you, Venmo. Just let me give people money. Fuck out of my wallet, you fucking bitch.
Oh.
This article is from Axios. I sent you this one as well. Kitsap County Sheriff's Office investigating missing text of Durkin, Best, and what's her name?
Carmen Best?
Carmen Best. That's what it is. Corrine. That's all. Corrine Jean-Pierre. That's all I could think of. It's not racist at all. I promise. It's not. I mean that. It sounds so if I said it funny, but I mean that. It's not. No.
Jeez, bro.
I know.
Cancelable.
That's cancelable. I like that. That's a shirt too. That's cancelable. That's a good shirt. The King County Sheriff's Office is investigating whether former Mayor Jenny Durkin, ex-police chief Carmen Best, by the way, don't fucking know her personally. They brought this woman in, tokenized her 100%.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's why she was hired, they tokenized her once she was in the office, and then tried to force her to fire a fuckload of minorities by cutting the budget. So she walked. They're like, what's going on?
Yep.
What's going on? You can't hack it? No, she doesn't want to fire a bunch of fucking minorities that you just made her hire.
That's right.
Because of racism? Because this black woman's racist? She has to fucking fire a bunch of minorities?
right.
What are you talking about?
She's got BBD, man. Big, best energy.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
BBE.
Yes. Why did Hillary need a private server? Oh, Joseph, I love you so much. I love this so much. Joseph is so fire. Ex-police chief Carmen Best or others broke the law when thousands of potentially key text messages exchanged during the city's 2020 racial justice protests were deleted from their city-issued phones. It was the George Floyd riots. Driving the news, the sheriff's office opened the probe July 28th at the request of King County prosecuting attorney Dan Satterberg. His spokesperson sent an email to Axios on Thursday. What they're saying, the case had never been referred to us, and typically we don't ask for an investigation to be conducted. But in recent weeks and months, I heard from people in the community that this matter was important to them, and I considered it my responsibility to make this request to sheriff before the end of my term. Okay, so does that mean that some wokesters were complaining to the AG about this not being investigated?
Probably.
And that's why it's being investigated?
Probably.
Because,
I mean, the people of Seattle are very, very against any form of police pushback at all, any kind of law enforcement. And they want accountability from the mayor at the time. And to find out that she has Hillary Clinton level deleted government communications, I mean, it could, I don't know what it would implicate Jenny Durkin's, I don't know what her accountability would be for her period as mayor,
right?
Especially now that she's kind of out of the game. But she does need to be held accountable if she was the one sitting there saying, you have to do this, make sure to do this, come down hard on these people, or vice versa.
Right.
There needs to be some level of accountability. And to date, there has been none for the entire of the Chaz Chop period.
Right.
People died. People were raped and murdered. at this place. There was zero law enforcement presence allowed to take place.
Yeah.
And there was no accountability from her other than the fact that she just didn't get elected.
No,
and she didn't even seek re-election, I'm pretty sure.
Durkin has said she accidentally dropped her phone into salt water and denied setting her replacement phone to automatically delete text messages. Best testified in... Okay, so when you get it from the state, I feel very... Maybe not. The state sucks pretty bad. So I say I feel pretty confident that it would already be set to like not delete your text messages if someone from the tech department is giving it to you because they're the ones going to issue your phone, right? This state does fucking suck at a state level. So I really... Even as much as I hate this state government, I couldn't say it with certainty because it's so fucking inept at planning things, at doing anything. It's horrific here. So, so I feel confident, but I'm not certain.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the key mistake all these people are making is you get your government phones, you get your personal phone, and then you go buy a burner phone from Walmart with prepaid minutes on it to do all your corrupt, backdoor dealings and shit like that. That's
like
what
Joseph
you need.
said. Joseph,
exactly.
One for work, one for personal use, one for corrupt dealings. Totally normal for a politician.
Amen. Except they're all screwing up, man.
Joseph
Anthony Weiner on down. You got to go get yourself a Walmart burner phone, man.
And Best testified in a deposition earlier this year that she periodically deleted texts in bulk from her city-issued phone after independently deciding the messages didn't contain significant information that would require them to be saved. That's fire.
I trust the judgment of these
people. That's fire from a cop.
I don't need that.
She was the chief of police, and she's like, "Oh, I don't think that it's relevant, so why would I need to keep it?" Because you definitely want to hem somebody up who fucking said that to you. It's like, I just didn't think that it was relevant, so I fucking deleted it. Get the fuck out of here. That's so awesome. Oh, that's fire.
These people,
love
man.
that.
You wonder why I became an anarchist.
Yeah, that's hot. Since the public
great.
first learned about the missing text messages in May 2021 from a city ethics investigation, no one has been held accountable for deleting them. In May, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, Interim Police Chief Adrian Diaz, and City Attorney Ann Davison separately told Axios they weren't planning to pursue a probe. Attorney General Bob Ferguson's offices also said it wasn't his responsibility to investigate the matter, saying the duty belonged to local law enforcement. Oh, now it's
a
not
local
my
guy.
responsibility. Now I should deal with it.
This Bob Ferguson cat,
a piece
dude,
of shit.
he is a huge piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit.
I mean, he's up there, bro. He's up there with Chesa Boudin and shit.
Long story short, Seattle fucking sucks.
Yep.
Right? I don't think Bruce Harrell's gonna be much better than fucking Jenny Durkin.
Yeah, man.
Carmen Best. So this lighter's fucking cool. What's up with this?
That's a cigar lighter.
Okay.
That's why. So it's high-powered butane, baby. High-powered. It's for my sweet-ass cigars over here. Yeah, that thing, you just burn the shit out of that
Straight to the
thing.
lungs, yep.
Oh, that's good. Oh, man.
We're doing big things out here, guys.
It's been a while since we had a spark up.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. I didn't even ask.
No, it's fine. I don't care. We've done it in here before. Used to be the deal back in the day.
That's nice.
It just seemed for a while we were hitting on the pens and shit, and that was what we were doing.
Yeah. Joseph, I don't know where you're located out of. I don't know if they do weed out there. I don't know if you do weed out there. Got a nice fucking pre-roll here. A little shatter joint.
Shatter.
Yeah, got me a nice infused joint. Just take a couple hits, keep a nice low-grade high. Just clearing up some memory, bro. Nothing to see some Orange Man back. Yeah!
Orange Man bad,
dude,
baby.
Joseph is... I love it so much.
Oh. Don't give him too big a head now.
No. No. All right. We can move on now. We have the gas car ban, right? California did this earlier this week, and I have an article from The Guardian. Doesn't really matter. It's all the same type of shit. This one says, Washington State will follow California and prohibit the sale of new gas-powered vehicles by 2035, Jansley said, state governor. California regulators on Thursday moved forward with a landmark plan to phase out the sale of gas cars over the next 13 years in the U.S. largest auto market. There is some different shit, some details about ours, though, that I have. Maybe it's in Car and Driver, because it's not quite so cut and dry as it sounds. The deadline could come. This is from Car and Driver, this article that I have here. I'll send it to you if you want. The deadline could come in 2030, but the actual date will be set by the percentage of vehicles in the state that pay for road use through vehicle miles traveled instead of by taxes on gasoline. So
they need the money.
So they're also changing the way this is going to be done. And this, I never considered this aspect of this issue. And I was the same deal as like paying for chargers. I just never fucking thought about what are you going to do for taxes if no one is buying gasoline? You just start charging people to drive on the roads. And I'm not like a proponent of that. That seems like a really weird way to go about that.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to charge people per mile on the road. There's no way
Yeah.
you're not going to start paying more money in taxes if you're charged per mile that you drive on the road.
Yeah.
There's no way.
If you think that if the state is going to allow you to pay less in taxes because you make a decision to buy a vehicle, if you make a decision, you're able to buy an electric vehicle to offset your carbon footprint and the cost of fuel and all this stuff. If you think for a second the state's not going to find a way to get their nut in taxes on that, you are kidding yourself, because it's the
Right.
lifeblood of how they operate. Is stealing money out of your pocket one way or another. It's why you're taxed 10 times a day in 10 different ways. It's because they need your money somehow. And if you're switching the entirety of every new car that is registered in the state after 2035 now, if it's going to have to be a zero emissions electric car, that entire chunk of people that aren't going to be buying fuel anymore will not be paying the fuel tax, the state fuel tax, which is one of the highest in the country. I believe the highest in the
50 cents
country.
or some shit. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And they're continually adding more and more to that every single period. But they're going to get their nut one way or the other, man. That's the way this whole thing works. And if the amount of money they rely on is not going to change, even though, how would I put that? Like, it makes sense to me. We'll just put it that way.
So this article says, despite the straightforward name, the 2030 date is not a specific mandate in the law. Instead, Clean Cars 2030, which is the name of the bill, an amendment to E2SHB 1287, a state bill that would require local electric utilities to get ready for more electric vehicles, looks for a time when at least 75% of the vehicles registered in Washington pay to use the roads through a vehicle miles traveled tax. A VMT can be used by governments to collect money to pay for roads as an alternative to a gas tax, which EV drivers obviously don't pay. One key detail that the Clean Cars 2030 amendment doesn't provide for a way to start collecting the VMT in Washington, which is a vehicle per miles tax. There are separate efforts being made to start one in the state. The sales ban would apply to a model year 2030 or later passenger and light duty vehicles. This is a quote. Passage of this legislation takes the guesswork and uncertainty out of the electric vehicle transition by creating a clear timeline. That's so awesome. By creating a clear timeline with the data, tools, and guidelines we need to help businesses, developers, governments, and consumers plan with confidence, said State Senator Marco Lias, who pushed for the bill in a statement. Clean Cars 2030 is a critical step to meet urgent carbon reduction goals here in Washington. That's so awesome. And can serve as a model and impetus for other states to accelerate and switch to EVs. Okay, so this article says there is an indefinite timeline, but then he says in his quote, right, passage of this legislation takes the guesswork and uncertainty out of the electric vehicle transition by creating a clear timeline with the data, tools, and guidelines we need to help businesses. Right, but there isn't a clear timeline because who fucking knows when we're going to do that? If cars are still ridiculous ass expensive for the next 10 years, right? Because if for whatever reason we can't get our chip thing figured out, and other countries stop wanting to work with us, which they will, and we're fucked for cars, and things are super expensive and they're difficult to get, then people are not going to be buying brand new vehicles. They're going to continue to buy used cars. You're going to find yourself in a Cuba situation where people have real nice fucking 1990s cars that they're rolling around with because that's what's working for them.
Yeah, my Ford F-350 1997 I've seen that thing jump up in relative value $5,000 over the last year.
Yeah.
It's going to be worth twice as much by the time this thing rolls around. And because it's a nice, dirty fucking diesel, it's still going to be thriving, man.
Yeah, miss me with the bullshit.
This is all ridiculous.
And
they're going to be they're going to come up with a way, again, to insert the government's going to find another way to insert themselves into your life by tracking your fucking mileage.
Yes.
By tracking how much... That'll probably come in the form of when you register your vehicle, you're going to have to update your odometer or something.
And they don't even
right?
know how they're going to do it yet.
You know, and that would be the simplest form that I could think of, I guess.
They're not going to do that.
I mean, regardless, they're going to have to try to find a way to track your miles. And luckily, all these electric cars are all very smart cars, and so it'll probably just beam the data to the fucking data
Every
center,
time
and
you
they'll
plug
get
in.
amen. And that's what they'll do. And then everybody that drives more, because they have to, which is probably why they got an EV to begin with anyways, because they're spending too much money on gas. It's going to have to pay more there anyways. Your general cost of living when it comes to driving is only going to go up, because now you also have to pay for the extra energy costs, which we're also going to become more and more expensive because we're not going to do anything about. We're not going to lower energy costs by having everybody plug in their fucking cars. All it's going to do is get exponentially more expensive because the demand on energy is going to skyrocket.
No, and that's
where the supply is not going to skyrocket. It's going to diminish exponentially.
And that's a great point that you've made to move on to what we're talking about, right? Is that this next thing that he says is Clean Cars 2030 is a critical step to meet urgent carbon reduction goals here in Washington. So let me ask you, where does the power come from? Like the actual power, not from the wall, right?
Yep.
Not from I plug my fucking thing in. The actual power, right?
Yeah, the actual power to them is going to come from green energy. So solar and wind, obviously. That's what they say, because at least in this particular state, hydroelectric is not green, and nuclear is not green. So there just won't be any more power. I mean, if you listen to Pete Buttigieg, the electrical infrastructure required for this stuff is not here today, but it will be here in the infrastructure for tomorrow. So it'll be here tomorrow. So it's not a thing to worry about, Donovan. I don't know why you would even think about where this power is going to come from. It's going to come from tomorrow. That's where it's going to come from. I did a whole thing yesterday about a bunch of countries now, like, surprisingly becoming more nuclear friendly, because they're all starting to see the writing on the wall that we're cutting back on this energy stuff. That's the only way this is possible, is if we have a massive resurgence of nuclear energy, which, given the timeline at hand here, which is roughly 10 to 15 to 20 years, doesn't seem feasible to me. There's no way the government's going to build a bunch of brand new nuclear plants all over the country in 20 years and have that be the sole backbone of the power grid. Yeah. There's just no way. What they're talking about is nonsensical, because there is no way to get to where they want to go. That's just plain and simple. This is all wish casting, throwing out your best intentions out into the wind, essentially looking for votes and looking for power. That's really all this is. This entire, lowering our carbon goals and all this is all bullshit. None of it is feasible at all in our current state of infrastructure, our current economy. None of it is possible at all right now. But they're forcing it through as quick as they can, because it's an imminent emergency, obviously. I mean, we have a state emergency now. I believe there's a federal emergency on climate. It's a huge emergency. I mean, there's rivers flooding. People are dying left and right because of climate change. Everything comes down from climate change. The more heart attacks there are now are due to climate change. We have to cut back on all this stuff because it'll just fix everything. We don't need to worry about China or India or all the other major polluters of the world. We don't need to worry about them.
Green as fuck.
We're just going to be green as fuck, and that's going to make us a better America.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm looking into the hydroelectric thing, because on the state website it says qualified hydroelectric plants count as green energy.
Yeah.
So I wonder which ones. There's 52 different hydroelectric plants in Washington State.
Yeah.
I wonder what makes them qualified to count under the green energy portion of that, because what I was reading was relating to when you pay your power bill, you can sign up. You can sign up for like green energy or just regular energy, fucking dirty old energy, or good clean energy.
I want that clean coal energy, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what it was about. And so one of the categories was qualified hydroelectric plants. Seems interesting that it does qualified.
Well, to this day, there's a continued push to remove the Snake River Dam right now because of the deleterious environmental costs that it has.
Janesley just said that he was in favor of that, but not until we have the energy thing figured out. How the fuck are you gonna? How are you gonna take? Because there's several. There's there's multiple hydroelectric plants along just the Snake River, and so what do you? In California, they're being told not to charge their cars right now.
Yeah.
Because they're in such a power crisis. They're like, don't listen. Don't charge your car.
Yep. That's why they just extended through legislation, they extended the life of their last nuclear plant in, I think it's the Diablo Canyon
Yeah.
one.
What are we doing?
We're cutting our arm to spite our, what is that? We're cutting off our hand to spite our foot.
Cutting off your nose to spite your face.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you for the idiom help. The alpha brain is not helping out with the idioms.
No,
we'll put it
awesome.
that way. But yeah, that's what this is. The only rationality you can draw from it is it's a popular thing that gets you more power now, so we got to do it, and so let's just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And be damned with the consequences. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We got the infrastructure of tomorrow to look forward to, man.
We'll figure the tax thing out. We'll figure all the things out.
We'll
Don't
figure it
worry
all
about
out.
that, no.
Don't ask me how the monorail project's going, because that we're gonna figure that one out a long time
Don't
ago.
ask about Big Bertha. It doesn't matter. These things don't matter.
Yeah.
No.
And Seattle is it's just such a microcosm of like the real world implications of all these highfalutin ideas that come out of like the really progressive left. And you could just see them fall on their face every single time, massively over budget and over schedule. I mean, there's projects to nowhere. We've been working on different corridor projects on, with state highways and stuff since I've been alive. None of these things ever actually get done. They're like perpetual projects they're perpetual money pits.
Yeah.
And you don't have to look any farther than, this is why I like to dwell so much on local stories from Seattle and stuff, because we are a microcosm of this progressive left ideology in real time. We see the effects of it all the time. If the constitutional republic concept is supposed to work as it's supposed to work, we're supposed to have these little pockets of people and places doing different shit to see what works and what doesn't. You don't have to look any farther than Seattle to find out that these things do not fucking work. There's no way to pay for them. There's no way to make them work because we try and we just fall on our face every single time.
But it's so nice to live here, though.
It's so nice, bro. Just don't go to Seattle.
Yeah.
Just don't go to Seattle. And then if you live anywhere else in the state, you just have to deal with the political whims coming out of Seattle and Olympia.
Right. Right.
It's good times, man. But we're not as bad as California, so that's a plus. Man, I get so tired of all these fucking advertisements on free news. They're so in your face and so terrible.
Yes.
I-99?
I-99, that's the last one.
Let's do it.
Yep, I'm just trying to get my article going here.
I got a lovely one from Seattle Times with the pedestrian footbridge in it.
Yes, yep, and that's exactly what I have here. It's just blocking it for me now because it's a bitch.
Because it's Seattle Times. Give me money, otherwise you don't get the news.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole nother conversation, man.
Yeah.
Pay us to be informed, or else. Otherwise, you'll get the first paragraph of it where we don't tell you anything, and then you can subscribe and give us money after that.
It just really doesn't like my VPN, So it's like you're blocking whatever and shit. And I just did this the other day, so it doesn't matter. I don't want to deal with this right now. The point of this is there. You can read this article from if you're cool with that, because and that's what I was talking about. That
grassroots effort
bridge
to remove Highway 99 in South Park goes mainstream.
And that's the pedestrian bridge that I was talking about.
Yeah, this comes out of an article from late August. In a wood-floored hall, I hate when they fucking do this shit in the beginning of articles. You don't need to show us how fucking pro-y you are. In a wood-floored hall above and behind a South Park coffee shop, 10 or so residents discuss what it will take to tear out a part of a major American highway. Actually, it's a state highway. Highway 99 to their west is just out of earshot, but it presents. I can't even speak today.
No, the real point, right? The real point is that this neighborhood. You can pull up the map there. The real neighborhood, the neighborhood in South Park, right, is downtown or not downtown. It's south of Seattle. Yeah.
Yep.
And
There's Seattle proper down there.
Yep.
There is South Park here.
Yep.
Here is I-99.
so it's a suburb of Seattle. They would like that strip of I-99 removed from the middle of their neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like 40 acres or something like that.
Yeah.
When I first started to hear about this, I thought it was super silly. I was like, these are just some wokesters that are complaining. And after I read this article, I'm still not sure about exactly how many people are down for this, because the article makes it sound like there's about 10 people who actually want this to be done.
Yeah.
So if no one actually cares about this, then I don't think they should be doing it. And I think that it's an awful big waste of money. $600,000 they're dumping into a feasibility.
The state is dumping into a feasibility study.
The state is doing a feasibility study, thank you, to find out whether or not that's even feasible, as it says in the name, to remove this part of the highway, right? So the goal, they say, the remove I-99 from South Park, or whatever this group is called, right? Their goal is they want to remove that part of the highway and then have the land put into a community trust, and they can do whatever they want with it. Put a grocery store or, a park or whatever they're going to do with it. Yeah. That's when I started to find it very interesting. Yeah. Was at that point in which, and again, if it's only 10 people, then I'm not down for this, because 10 people shouldn't be controlling what happens with this community. But if you have adequate, what do I have here?
There's a footbridge right there.
If you have adequate outreach, right? If you have outreach squared away to which you are canvassing the area and getting everybody's opinion on what you should do, and if they want this, then I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But if there's only 10 people that want this, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You just don't like the highway, right?
Yeah.
It's inconvenient, but there are highways all over the fucking state. There's highways all over the country. That's how it works. That's how people get from one place to the other without having to go through your neighborhood to get to Seattle.
Yeah. Your giant industrial center of your neighborhood that sits just north of the residential area relies wholly on I-99 to come through and then get their product to market.
North and south.
By the new Amazon warehouse, where a lot of those people probably just got jobs.
North and south. Look, there's a business district down there, too. That's
so this is your commercial area is, and then just to the north is where your industrial is. And the argument behind this is filled with a lot of equity woke type
100%.
It's racist because disenfranchisement, what they said, the lifespan of the people in South Park
13
is years less on average,
which is mad interesting.
Which is probably more to do with the giant industrial center and this fucking, this dirty ass river that runs right next to it than the highway. But hey, the highway, noise pollution's a real deal. It's not good, man. I can tell you right now. Yeah, the airport's just to the north of it. It's like a Boeing. I think that's the actual Boeing airport.
Oh, okay.
Or no, that's SeaTac. Or King County International Airport.
Okay.
So not SeaTac?
Look at the price of literally everything. People who were living paycheck to paycheck last year were literally starving today. This is not sustainable. It will come to a heat. Come to a head. 100%. 100%, Joseph. You're not wrong. And it's calling us in a lot on the inflation stuff last week when he was talking about, and we will talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the student debt and shit like that. It's not good. I don't know how old you are, Joseph. I don't know if you have kids. But, I've heard a lot of people who work their fucking dicks off to send their kids to school that are real upset about this.
Real pissed.
About this payment. Yeah. We talked about it when Josh Keaton was here. I got my own deals about that. I chose not to go to college because I didn't want to take on student debt. So I have very little sympathy for people who did take on student debt. You shouldn't have done that, I think, probably. There are some people who benefited from that. Josh Keaton, people who are becoming teachers, people who are doing big things. I don't know.
Which speaks to the argument of, too, like, why should me and you as blue-collar working Americans have to pay for somebody's debt who is going to go on and make more money than us in the future? Yes. That doesn't square.
Who makes more money than us right now? $125,000 is the cutoff for it.
It's not a bad deal. Yeah, $125. Anybody that makes less than $125 a year is you're the one that is going to be fucked by this.
Yes.
Extra hard.
So the reason that we bring the South Park story up, and then we'll move on, we'll take our quick break and we'll go into part 2. The reason we bring the South Park story up is because it's going to be an interesting test of the small government, the minarchism ideals that people are espousing all the time. If these people are going to, come together as a community to take on the fucking state to get a highway removed from their area to benefit them, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how it translates to a big picture, but it's interesting to see.
Yeah. And through the process of feasibility, the way these things work, the reason the feasibility, especially for a project like this, is going to take so long is because the state's involved. But to do some, like literally, they will have to get like an 85% response rate from the community
On the little cards?
on the little cards and stuff like that. Whether to say yay or nay, it really doesn't matter. They have to. That matters after they get a certain amount of feedback from the community. They have to reach that threshold before their feedback even means anything, and you can only do it so many times a year, so on and so forth. And everybody in this entire community at the end of the day is going to have some kind of feedback into this thing. And then once that's done, if the outcome of that is positive, then they'll be moving forward with the process. And then there's going to be fighting with the state about what to do. And this is going to take, like I said, 6 years is the feasibility period. They will be lucky to be able to maintain community engagement for 6 years. I will put it that way.
Right.
And there'll be a point where, 3 years into it, somebody's going to get another fucking card to say, no, I'm still not fucking into this thing. Or maybe they said yes for a long time and like, no, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Get this crap out of here. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just ask the state to build us some new fucking bypasses. Some more pedestrian bridges over there. It'll take 10 years to build, but hey, we can get them. Why not? The idea is cool, but
yeah.
I will be really interested. Hopefully it'll still be in the news and we can see the outcome of the feasibility study in 6 fucking years, but I highly doubt it. I doubt anybody involved is still going to be around.
I love that. Are they going to pay for a bypass, or is that going to be taxes also?
Oh, that'll be
That's
taxes,
what we're saying.
bro.
Yeah, we're not sure. That's this whole deal is they're already dumping the $600,000 of taxpayer money into the feasibility study. The state is paying for that.
Yeah.
So,
Which I still don't understand that.
you do what?
I still don't understand that. Who pays for a feasibility study? The fucking client does.
Oh,
You want to do something, you got to foot the bill.
that's intriguing. It's equity. It's intriguing.
I guarantee you that's why.
It's intriguing. Yeah.
It's disproportionately affecting, oppressed people. So
Whatever the group is that wants this, they're probably like, "Oh, you expect us to come up with $600,000
Yeah,
for a
we're just
fucking
this tiny little
feasibility
thing
study?"
here.
Yeah, we're just one neighborhood in
That's
all
right.
of Seattle.
that you did this to us.
you put us in this position.
That's right.
You built this here. That was part of the story. Was like they built it there strategically, to come down on the minorities. And I told you,
Given Seattle's history, that's a hard probably.
I'm not going to say it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's such a long con for government to.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're going to strategically build highways here, not only so we can keep them out of our nice white neighborhoods, but also to fucking kill them quicker. We're going to fucking get them quicker with the cars and the noise and the planes.
That's right.
And all the
It'll be a
Amazons and all
long-term.
the things. We're going to fucking get them even quicker.
In the future, there's going to be a company called Amazon, and it's
Yeah.
going to fuck with all these people.
a weird
Realistically, what it probably was the state going, we need a highway here. Well, there's a neighborhood in the way. Well, eminent domain, bitches. This is how it works. We're taking this land. Sorry, goodbye.
Right.
And that's because that's what the state does, man. They don't give a shit about you.
No.
And on that happy note,
Yeah, with that, we're going to take our first break here for part 1, and we'll be back in just a few minutes for part 2, talking about schools back in session. Kind of.
kind of.
Thank you.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every